I'm Sandy James, a retiree for this year, 22-23. And I'm delighted to be back here in the central office, back where it all started 25 years ago. It has been a pleasure working with the ECPPS district and Northeastern High School for my entire 25 years of teaching. Some of the things along the way, some of the highlights that I appreciated, of course, working with the students as well. I had a lot of passion for the students and I love them. And as well as I've met some very good friends along the way. Some of my highlights in teaching was to work with Don Sisson for 10 years at the high school. And he provided lots of security for us during that time. Another highlight for me along the way is in 2018, 2019, I was Teacher of the Year. And during that same time, I was able to serve on the committee for writing test questions for DPI. That was a pleasure. Also during that time, one of my highlights is that my son got to play with the Northeastern High School football team, and they were the first team to go to the state championship. So he made history with that. Words that I would like to leave for new teachers are to choose your battles, show respect for the students, and most times they'll show respect back to you. But the leadership does start with the teacher and not the students. We can't expect them to do anything that we're not willing to do. So really be careful with the cell phones. They're not worth the trouble that it gets teachers and students into. So be careful with that. I do encourage everyone, new teachers especially, to seek support if you need it, because it is needed. It feels like we're drowning sometimes, but get support and other teachers will be glad to help you. It has been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing everybody, and thank you so much.
I'm Joel. I worked at Central Elementary for about 7 years. I worked for the government before. I had 32 years as a federal police officer, so I came to work for the school system. As a police officer, I worked weekends, holidays, did all those good things, and I said, well, yeah, I want to do something that I don't have to work holidays. I said, well, I'm going to go to the school system. Well, I could not get in at ECPPS, so I went to John A. Holmes in Edenton and worked for 1 year. I had a one-on-one with autistic student, and I really enjoyed that, and they lost funding, so I came to Northeastern. We had a 2-on-1 with a fine gentleman named Thomas Ellis. We had an autistic kid. The following year, I did get into Central Elementary. Worked at Central Elementary for approximately 7 years, and then I retired. But I really, really enjoyed working with the students. Small groups was my thing. I worked with small groups, but my job as a teacher assistant, I really just enjoyed helping out, working with the students, doing anything that the teachers needed, and I really enjoyed my stay at Central Elementary. And the main thing I learned, and I stand on this, is that it's the love for the students. It's the main thing, and if the teachers, if you follow that, you love your students. I know it's going to be some difficult days, but if you stand on that, everything is going to be all right. Some of the most enjoying things that I did, I'm a Army veteran, and the kids love to hear about veterans and veterans. So Veterans Day was one of the things that I enjoyed doing, and all the special events, field days and things like that, where the kids are really hyped up, they're really interested, and they'll do anything to get to that point. So, but again, good to see everybody. I know I'll see you at the retirement party at Montero's, and let's continue to work with our students, love our students, and everything's going to be all right at the end. Thank you.
Good evening, ECPPS. My name is Wanda Johnson, and I'm happy to say that I've been an employee of Elizabeth City Pasquotank Public School for the last 28 plus years, and I have truly enjoyed working with ECPPS. I was in the exceptional ed department. First, it was very challenging, but once you get into the program, you grow to love it. You grow to love the kids and the parents. I like to give special thanks to my principals that I have had to support me from time to time. And I especially want to give a special thanks to Mr. Jackson Hurd, who gave me great support as working in the EC department. And then after Mr. Hurd left, Mrs. Stephanie Ambrose came in, and Mrs. Ambrose gave me the really start to be an EC teacher. I interviewed with her, and she saw my potentials and everything, and so she allowed me to come in as a teacher in the MU classroom, and also as a teacher as the autistic classroom, self-contained. It started out very challenging, but when you work with those kids, you know, you expect something different every day. But in those every days that I expected something different, it helped me to grow. It helped me to love them and love the parents. And I just want to thank ECPPS for giving me that opportunity to improve myself, to make a dream come true, which I didn't think would ever happen. But it did, and I give all the praise and honor to ECPPS, and I also give all the praise and honor to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and my family for the support, and for my sister, which Miss Curtis had retired over 30-something years in the school system, to tell me to go for it. So once God opens up a door, He allows you to step through it. I stepped through the door, and I have not made a mistake since I stepped through that door. I am very happy to retire for this system, and I told people that I'll be back in 6 months. So in 6 months, I'll be back, and I'll be very proud to come back to be a part of ECPPS. There's no other place that I would rather be than to be here in Elizabeth City with ECPPS. Thank you, and God bless you all.
Hello, everyone. My name is Keith BOWE, and I was an employee for the ECPPS for 22 years. And you know, with my experience at being an employee there, I experienced so many things. But the one thing that I want to talk about today is that give me great pleasure is that during my time there, I had an awesome experience with kids. Even though I wasn't a teacher, I had plenty of opportunities working with kids and meeting different students, and the biggest payoff from it all is that I have had many kids to come back and tell me that they were so happy to have known me as being a part of the school system. And at HL Trigg, whether it was at HL Trigg or on the school bus or whatever, they come back and tell me things that because of me, and then it wasn't me, it's all because of the Christ in me, that they are different today. And that just gives me so much pleasure that I was a part of their lives and made a difference in their lives. And I just want to thank ECPPS for giving me the opportunity to work for them, because when I think back, some years ago. I believe it was 1995 when I didn't have a job, and I had the opportunity to go to P.W. Moore and volunteer for Mr. Leonard Williams. I know everybody know him. He was the principal at P.W. Moore at that time, and I volunteered over there a whole week doing some painting, and I left there, and then I got a job, and I started working somewhere else. But that job ended up closing down. And then when that job closed down, they had a position open at H.L. Trigg, and I applied, and Mr. Williams was the principal there. And I believe I got the opportunity to be hired at H.L. Trigg because of the volunteer work I did at P.W. Moore. And it was nobody but God that placed me there at H.L. Trigg. And I'm telling you, I know for a fact it was God that put me there. And I am excited to tell everybody today that it wasn't me. It was nobody but Christ. And I believe that's all I have to say today. But I just want to say that thank you, ECPPS, for the 22 years that I had to work with you guys. Thank you.
Hello, my name is JOANN Overton Cowell, and I worked at Weeksville Elementary School for over 20 years. From 1997 through 98, I was hired as a substitute, and I worked at J.C. Sawyer and Weeksville Elementary. And I guess Weeksville Elementary liked me so much, they hired me on the next year. So as of 1998 to 99, I was hired as a part-time cafeteria assistant at Weeksville Elementary School under the leadership of Mrs. Kathy Jones. And on March 31, Kathy Jones retired, so I was nominated to take on that position. So I was hired as a cafeteria manager for Weeksville Elementary School. I had the honor of holding this position for 16 years, 16 wonderful years, under the leadership of Mrs. Robin Taylor, Mr. Michael Thompson, and of course now Mrs. Tammy Reinhardt. And I was also president of the local School Nutrition Association for 2 years. I enjoyed attending child nutrition conferences in Greensboro, North Carolina for several years. And my most intriguing highlight was serving the students and staff of Weeksville Elementary School. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Abram Davenport, and I've served in the field of education for 30 years. I've been at different levels: school bus driver, building administrator, classroom teacher. There's been so many highlights over the years and things that have been so good, it's hard just to narrow it down to a few. But I guess the biggest thing that you take away from your career in education is when you see children succeed. When you don't give up on them after they've given up on themselves, it makes a difference in their lives, because a lot of times children come to school just for you. Home life's not always the greatest, but you're the staple in their life, and they come in and they do things for you they wouldn't do for other people. So that's one thing I take away from this, and advice I would give to beginning teachers: be true to yourself and always do what's best for the child, and you'll make friends for life.
Good evening, I'm Eugene Roundtree. I worked 10 years with ECPPS. I was a fire technology teacher at Pastank High School. I want to say that teaching was a learning experience on how education is taught and done in the state of North Carolina and across the country. One of my biggest things that I liked was watching students do things, especially physical things in the fire service, that they had no idea that they could do it when we first started, but they excelled at it and continued on. And one of the things I like now, and even back in the past years, is once a student graduates, if they saw you in a store or somewhere, they would make contact with you, they would come see you, they go out of their way to come talk to you, and that means a lot. That they would still, even as grown people, that they come up to you and want to talk about what we done in school and all. And some of the biggest highlights of my career was I got nominated to be Scholar Teacher 5 times, and those students really mean a lot to me. And other students that mean a lot, I have about 8 that are now career firefighters, and I'm proud of every one of them. And I enjoyed my time at ECPPS, and thank y'all.
Greetings, my name is Ed Comstock. I have been associated with Elizabeth City Pasquotank Public Schools for 20 years. First 3 years I was an volunteer assistant football coach, and then for 17 years I was a teacher here in the school system here of ECPPS. The memories that I have, we often talk about in education how teachers impact our students' lives, and we do that every day. One thing that we often forget sometimes, I think, is that students impact our lives as well. And that, as I sit here and reflect on the past 20 years in the school system, one of the stories that comes to mind is a student who was in my class for only a brief period of time. She was a young ESL student who was only with me for 3 weeks, but shared with me her concerns and her fears about being successful, and yet the last day she was in my class, she wanted to take a test, and then she wanted me to grade it to see how she did. And when I did, I looked at the final answer on the final question, and where most students had wrote like 2 or 3 lines, she wrote 3/4 of a page about herself and her journey. And I've kept that today. So that is just one of the many stories that I have, but that one comes to mind whenever I sit here and reflect on the past 20 years here at ECPPS. The other thing about this school system is that from the very beginning, the staff here at every school I worked at EC Middle, and I worked here at Northeastern High School, and they have been very helpful and have been outstanding. I started as an older teacher, almost 50 years old, and the young teachers at EC Middle took me under their wing and guided this old man through the early stages of his education career. And then as I moved on to Northeastern, I was so lucky to have the staff there to take me under their wing and guide me, the veteran teachers there, through my initial years as well. So I've been very fortunate to serve the students of Elizabeth City Pasquotank School System, and very thankful to have this opportunity.